Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Marvel Lookback, and with Loki now out, and Love and Thunder coming soon, I thought to go back and revisit the previous Thor films, starting with 2011's Thor, directed by Kenneth Branagh. And that's the one thing that stands out in this movie is, with Branagh, some of the movie has almost a bit of a Shakespearean feel to it, especially some of the Asgard scenes. Which makes sense, because that's the exact kind of work that Branagh came from. Even story-wise, the movie has a little bit of Shakespeare to it. Two brothers of a royal making claim to the throne, and one of them having to learn how to be a wise ruler. And also the main hero has a sweet weapon that can only be wielded by
whosoever be he worthy shall have the power. Whatever, man.
So, Shakespeare meets King Arthur. I also feel this is the closest the MCU has gotten to a fantasy movie as well, with the first half almost feeling like a fantasy epic. But back to the person who must learn to be a ruler, Thor himself. By the way, so weird watching a much younger Chris Hemsworth from Tom Hiddleston here. Of course, then again, that's always what I think every time I watch a Phase 1 movie. But it's interesting how you have a much more different Thor here. A lot more arrogant and hot-headed, who must learn to be humbled by his father. A story that, come to think of it, Marvel loves telling. But still compelling nonetheless to see him getting humbled and finally earn his title back. And Thor goes through a lot in this movie, too. Getting banished by his father, losing his powers, getting sent to Earth, believing that his father died, and then even thinking that his brother died. Phew, it's a lot. As well as getting some fun fish out of water stuff on Earth. Like, I love this restaurant scene.
This drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
Although, a lot of the relationships he creates on Earth don't really go anywhere. Not just in this movie, but in later movies too. I've forgotten how many characters that do come back later though. Loki, of course, Eric Selvig, and even Clint Barton. And Jane Foster, who comes back later until she doesn't, and then does again. Oh my goodness, she has it rough. More on that later though. And then there's Loki, who is also kind of different in this movie. Yet also similar. Sure, he's still a trickster and a liar, but here I guess he's a bit more reasonable? At least this is the movie where you can see a little bit of his motivation, where he's doing it all to make himself look like a hero to Asgard and to please his stepfather. I've even seen some say that from his point of view, he's just trying to stop his crazy stuck-up brother from taking the throne. As well as, it's easy to forget that Loki is actually a frost giant, something that doesn't really come back later, even though he literally used ice powers, but then he doesn't use them again later. But anyways, this is the movie that shows a little bit more of the complexity of Loki. The movie does drag a couple times, especially in the middle, and of course it has been said that some of the side characters you don't really get to know, and they just end up being kind of forgettable. And like I mentioned, there are a few characters and details that they don't really return to or come back to later. But honestly, I actually really enjoy this movie on rewatch. It's a good hero's journey story and a good origin story for the character of Thor. And I would give Thor a 7.5 out of 10. And now for Lego, of course we didn't get Marvel sets back then until the Avengers, but we do have the Infinity Saga sets now, and so if they hopefully continue that line, I think there are a few things they could consider here. I would love to see a good $70 to $100 Asgard location set, something we haven't really gotten before, and it's iconic in its own way. The main build can be the Gold Pipe Castle, some scenery, and the Rainbow Bridge. And it would be a good opportunity to get figures for characters like Odin, Heimdall, and some of the Asgardians. Then, of course, the other thing from this movie would be a small Thor versus Destroyer set, with a Destroyer build that could be between the size of the small $10 mechs or the $30 Hulkbusters. Along with that, maybe some nice town-side builds, and of course, the minifigures for Thor, Darcy, Jane, and Selvig. And then, of course, I might also want like a restaurant in the set, but that could be just me. But what did you think of the first Thor, and what Lego sets would you like to see from it? And also, have you seen the first episode of Loki yet? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and be sure to subscribe for more future videos. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, laters.